Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new segment of the DevasiaMentality channel called DevasiaMentality Talks. Since I'm not doing a proper Let's Play right now, thanks to a lack of co-commentators to help me get this done and over with, I thought it was time I sat down and talked about, I don't know, things. That's basically what these DevasiaMentality Talk segments are supposed to be. Just me ranting and or reviewing certain things. But you know, for this particular talk segment, I figured it would be best to have a look at the recently completed, or maybe it's not completed, I don't know, whatever. It's the Sonic fan film, the live-action fan film that is now up on YouTube by Blue Core Studios. Now, if you haven't seen it already, there'll probably be a link in the description below. But there isn't really that much to see as far as I am concerned. And with that said, I'm going to have to warn everyone here that I'm going to be, shall we say, harsh? Just a warning for you people, I'm not going to be nice to this thing, even despite the fact that it is a non-profit fan film. Because, you know, the problem I have is just the core concept itself. I know this was produced as a proof of concept film, but quite frankly, I wish they kept it under their hats, just forgot about it. Because I do not like the concept. It's a concept that I am constantly reminded is not something that can be done. At least not to a degree where I can actually fall behind it and believe it and feel like it's any good. Let me put it this way. For one thing, there's the suspension of disbelief. If I had a personal meter measuring my disbelief and the suspension thereof, there would be like a green, yellow, and red segment on there. For most films, I generally don't let them fall into the green category. The green category is where this seems like an absolutely believable event to occur. You know, most films probably would land under the yellow category, wherein I don't think this could ever be entirely real, but it makes a good enough story that I'm willing to follow it anyway and enjoy it. But the stuff that ends up in the red category, I will not give 2 inches to, because quite frankly it is beyond the capacity of a real-world setting to translate correctly. Stuff like Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Mario, or anything else with something that's so entirely, wholeheartedly unrealistic beyond imagination. You know, I put Transformers in there. Well, another thing is that when it comes to trying to translate realism, these things into a certain realism on the big screen for a feature film or a film at all, one of the major problems, one of the huge problems with this overall, especially in this day and age, is that you're going to be primarily relying on your main characters with CG animation. All of your main characters are going to be completely fake, drawn in, or layered over in 3D or whatnot. You know, disincluding the disbelief that I just can't hold for these concepts in a real-world setting, you're just going to have to rely too much on cell-generated imagery. And if you're going to go that far, you might as well make the whole film CG. And on top of all of that, I think games like Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 have proved what fans think of introducing Sonic into a realistic venue to begin with anyway. Not good! And to be quite frank, even as bad as that was, I still enjoy parts of it, but to be quite frank, that's the furthest it should ever go. Getting into my actual thoughts on the film itself, I think one of the main issues could be, you know, things like fan nitpickery, and I'm gonna try and avoid that. But let's just have an example here. We've got Kintobor Robotnik dressed up in a somewhat classic Eggman-y type of outfit, yet all of his mechas are designed after his more recent modern Eggman styles. and he has a whole bunch of egg carriers and one large egg carrier that looks like the one from '06. You're mixing a few too many things here from far too many different aspects of the Sonic universe to, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what to make of that. But that's just the small line of nitpickery one could have with this as a Sonic fan. Now, I'll give this movie credit where credit is due. It had some fairly amazing visuals. It's really gorgeous for a fan-made film, the type of angles and locations they got. And the music score is also pretty good. Pretty good, you know, for, you know, a film, a live-action film, but it's not something I would associate with Sonic at all. The integration of the what few cell-generated mechanized things they have in there is also pretty good for what you got out of it. I mean, you know, it is still a fan film, and I'm going to give them credit for what they managed to do with that. That said, I think the mech designs are just a little bit too gritty looking. I mean, as far as this movie tries to tell us, Robotnik's only just begun his invasion and conquest of the Earth, so why do all of his ships and mechs look like they've been stripped through the dirt, you know, for a good number of years? Not to be too much of a complaint here, but really, they just look like, if this has just begun, you're starting with some very dirty looking mechs. As for Sonic the Hedgehog's character design, incidentally, when I first saw it in like the initial trailer for the film, I was not I thought it looked god-awful. Thankfully, it looks a little bit better than what I thought it would end up coming out as, but on the whole, I still think it's kind of bad-ish. It looks like they tried to mix, you know, Sonic's standard design with all the hairiness of the Werehog, and that just... ugh. Maybe they did it, this particular style, to avoid, I don't know, maybe copyright claims from Sega or issues or something like that. Make their own very unique-looking Sonic models. But still, in terms of the voiceover, specifically for Sonic himself being voiced by Jaleel White.
Way past cool, huh?
I'll be very clear, I never liked Jaleel White's voice as Sonic. It just, it hurts. He was one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard for that time period.
I'm waiting!
And hearing him now, I can tell that he's aged quite a bit, and it's not helping his performance at all. Also, what the hell, cameo? Doug Walker, James Rolfe. I'm guessing there are more people that are cameoed in this film that I am not quite sure about, but those are the only two that stand out to me, so what the hell, this thing is ridiculous. The gun soldiers. I suppose they're slightly believable for soldiers. I mean, granted, these guys look like definite actors dressed up as soldiers, and not actual soldiers at all in any way. But I'll give them credit for what they managed. Just once they start interacting with Sonic, he shows up and gets up on screen, I just have to duck my head in shame at the idea that interacting with humans was even a remotely good idea. Robotnik was rather meh. In terms of his design, like I said, he has a classic outfit, and I'll give him that was probably a cost-cutting measure. I mean, I don't think they could use anything real expensive to make him look like modern Eggman or the Robotnik from the television series, so I'll let that slide. But the mustache? I mean, wow, that is beauty. I don't mind his acting either. He did have one legitimately funny line at the least.
They're all extinct. I made sure of that.
That in mind, the whole movie in itself just has this whole sense of darkness about it, with the whole idea of Eggman, Robotnik, whatever, taking over the world with his mech stuff. we're supposed to be seriously afraid of this guy, what he's doing, excuse me. But the moment Sonic gets on screen, or perhaps even one of his robots, it's just too jarring to have Sonic's personality in this film the way they wrote and visually designed it. And with that said, near the end, my immersion seems to be a bit broken with how they ended up just having Sonic enter one of those game-style Green Hill areas with the loop-de-loops and the checkerboard hills. And it just makes me pine more for a fully CG Sonic film instead. If you're gonna go so far as to make the Green Hills like that, go the whole way! The whole film! And then, what the fuck, Knuckles? Knuckles? What? Knuckles? And he has fingers, what? And the movie ends there. I mean, wow. Quite frankly, on the whole, I don't think this project has any future in its concept, or in terms of even what it actually brought to the table. I mean, seriously, good grief, who would ever take something like this seriously? At the end, I can't. I'm sorry, I really cannot. I said I was going to be harsh, and here is my final score. If I have to give it a 10-point rating, I'll give it 3. If I go with the store rating, maybe 1.5. And if I go with thumbs, definitely 2 fucking thumbs down. Like I said, I give this film credit where it's due. I think it did fairly alright for what it was trying to accomplish. I just don't give a damn about what it was trying to accomplish. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it whether or not you like it. And with that said, I actually apologize if you found anything I said offensive in any way. You know, it is hard to be judgmental on non-profit fan-made films that go out of their way, especially at such distances, to accomplish what they do. But at their core, I cannot do that. I cannot let that pass. It's just something that I have seen far too often fall flat on its face. And as a result, I am beyond believing that it's possible to do right ever. At the end, this has been a DevasiaMentality Talks. We are all raging nerds on the internet. Hit me with all you got. Later.